All right, I'm excited. I'm doing something that I do a lot with like friends and family who know obviously I'm really into movies, and that's discuss them. And in this case, a scene. And I've been wanting to talk about this scene for a long time. It's a scene from the movie A Knight's Tale. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. It's phenomenal. I want to get into it and why it's so important to me. So I call this scene the I will not run scene. I want to talk about a few key points that really stood out to me when I rewatched it. I've seen it many, many times, but these are the ones that I think really struck me where I'm at in my life right now, and things that I think could be really encouraging and beneficial. Just a brief synopsis is, William, played by Heath Ledger, he is the knight in A Knight's Tale. When he's a small child, he sees knights come through his town, and he says, someday I'll be a knight. Even from a young age, as a child, he's mocked. Someone tells him you might as well try to change the stars. And he asks his father, can that be done? And his father, who's also amazing, says yes. If a man believes enough, he can achieve anything. One of my favorite scriptures is Philippians 4:13. It says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. He's not really a knight in that he, at the time, as it's explained in the film, you had to be of royal bloodline. You had to be of royal heritage, which he was not. But through circumstance and crazy things, he ends up taking on the role of a knight and forging that documentation. He's been winning tournaments, and he's got his friends around him, and he actually sees his father again, who he hasn't seen in years, and he's about to go into the tournament and face his arch nemesis, essentially, and the woman he loves is with him, and so like all these great things. Okay, so that's where we're at. Now to the scene. And I call this first part of the scene the attack on joy, right? Like as I just explained, he's high on life, and he can tell by this somber look on his friend's face, something's off. They deliver this bad news to him that he's been found out. They know, they've looked through the records, he's not a knight. I think this is a fairly common thing that happens to us in life. We get excited about something, things are going good, and then it just seems like everything starts crashing down. And sometimes, it's the world around us, it's our peers, people in our workplace, and sometimes it's our friends, sometimes it's our family. He hears this bad news and they tell him, you're going to be arrested. But he tries to, in his true knightly character, he tries to, stand his ground.
But I face Adama in 5 minutes time.
They tell him, no, like they've already forfeit you. Like if you go out there, it doesn't matter. When our enemies try to attack our joy, they do that to try, and I'm not saying these are his enemies per se, but like when things arise that is attacking your joy, regardless of intentions, this happens because the point of it is to make you feel vulnerable and defenseless. But that's not the reality. Just because you feel vulnerable, just because you feel defenseless, doesn't mean you are. It's okay to feel that way, but you can't live that way. That's kind of the first part of the scene. So now we get to the part of the scene that I call the reveal. Jocelyn, who he's in love with, is with all of his friends, and he's like, wait a minute.
So, what do you think? Now that you know what I am.
She obviously loves him, and she tells him that, but she naively tells him,
run, and I will run with you.
She's not understanding that she fell in love with his knightly character. If he betrays that damages her perception of him. And she doesn't even understand that that's what's gonna happen if he runs. William knows this, right? And he stands his ground and he says, I can't run.
And I will put myself to the hazard.
Such a great line. But basically meaning, he will face the storms, he will fight the battles. He knows that's what a knight really does. A knight is just not some pompous rich person who puts on armor and parades around and, wins money. And, that's not really what a knight is. Right after that, his friend Roland, says, yeah, like you're a knight in your heart, but not on paper, right? Like that's all that matters to these people. And what's crazy about that is his friend knows, like he acknowledges that William really is a knight. Roland, unfortunately, in this scene doesn't understand William is going through so much spiritual pain, so turmoil inside of himself that would be worse than the shame of being arrested. So Jocelyn continues, tells him, I don't want to see you in the stocks. Then they have this discussion of, could you live with me if I ran?
And where will we live? in my hovel with the pigs inside in winter so they won't freeze.
So he just, tries to explain to her, you don't understand the hardships. Even if she could go through with it, it's like, I don't think you could live with me if I betrayed who I am. I don't, because that's not who you fell in love with. You didn't fall in love with someone who, is a coward. You fell in love with a guy who's courageous. So now we're in a part of the scene that I call the test. So William begins asking each of his friends, like, one by one, hey, would you see me run?
And you, Jeff?
Yes, I wish it too with all the pieces of my heart.
He's getting down to the last of his friends and he sees Watt, who throughout the whole movie he's hilarious, he's a jokester, but it's this very serious moment, but he's looking because they've lived so much of their lives together, and he looks at him and he says,
What? You and I, we aren't runners.
Yes. William, today we are.
I remember even from when I first saw it, like from a young age, this moment has always struck me because the way that they look at each other, their glances and the tones in their voice, it's so heart-wrenching. It's like he gets stabbed. It's like he's just betrayed. What's amazing about it too is this whole time during this part of the test, William is trying to stand his ground. He's trying to stand in his identity as a knight and call out the identity in his friends. He calls it out in Watt, and he's like, you're not a runner. Like, you're like me. What do you do when that doesn't happen? When they don't acknowledge their own identity, when they don't acknowledge, that they should be standing with you. So now we're at the part of the scene that is so awesome, and I call it the victory. He's distraught. He just looks like he's been stabbed, and you see it on his face, and he's looking back and forth, and then all of a sudden he like shakes it off.
No! I will not run! I'm a knight.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, because as the viewer at this point, it's like, oh man, he's got trouble coming his way. He's got pain, he's got humiliation. Like, he's chosen this. This is also great though, because he stood his ground, because he fought and won the battle, Jocelyn now meets his eyes and looks at him, and she recognizes, she understands that this is the right thing, that he shouldn't run, and that if he did run, it would destroy him. And this is also beautiful because it shows that she truly loves William. Then at this point, his friends rally to him.
Well, boys, all good things must come to an end. Let's end them together.
When you're courageous, you stir the courage of people around you. That's just what courage does. Like, I've just seen that throughout my whole life. Whenever I've seen someone be courageous, I start to become courageous, or I see people around them become courageous. If you're going through something difficult, I highly encourage you to say, I'm a knight, to say what is true and right and just, and to face whatever that battle, whatever that storm is. So, that's pretty much the scene. I'm gonna pepper in a little bonus moment there. So right after that is the tournament, and they walk together. It's cool slow motion. Once they get there, someone tells him, you will remove yourself from this position of honor. What's great, he's not ugly, he's not mean, but he just says with such resolve and nobility.
I'm here to compete.
It's so quick, but it's so beautiful. It's such an amazing moment. I love this scene. I hope you love this scene too. I hope you love the movie. I hope you rewatch it, or if you've never seen it, watch it and let me know what you think about it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts of what that scene means to you, what that movie means to you. If you can pull out any more truth out of it, any more encouraging things out of it, please let me know, because I love that movie and I'll watch it again myself. But I want to leave you with a couple things to ponder as well, because as much as we all like movies, we have a real life to live. We have a real story to live, right? Every day we live out a story. And so I just want to ask, will you compete in this life? Will you stand for moral things? Will you love people even when it seems like they're attacking you? Will you stand and tell the truth? Will you be strong when the world's telling you to be weak? So thanks for sticking around. I really hope you enjoyed this video. And the last thing I'll leave you with, is when all this comes your way, when all the distractions of the world, all the attacks, all the lies, and you feel conflicted, you feel like there's something rising up in you, and you feel like there's more to your life, there's meaning, there's purpose, you do have worth as an individual, as a person, as a knight, you know, whoever you are. I hope you will say, I will not run.